You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free 800-610-7035. Email xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And our radio website, where you can listen to the X-Zone live Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. Eastern until midnight. And the rest of the time, we play the best of the X-Zone. And we have episodes going back all the way to 1992 with such greats as Bud Hopkins. Let me see who else has passed away. Bud Hopkins. Oh, my gosh. Neil Armstrong. Lloyd Pye. And the list goes on and on. That's at www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is a Canadian television director and producer. His name is Chris Harrigan, and he lives in the beautiful province of New Brunswick. And Chris and I were talking over the weekend, and he was telling me about some of the fascinating places and the fascinating things that he has participated in that relate exactly to what we talk about here in the X-Zone. So joining me now from New Brunswick is Chris Harrigan. And Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Great having you with us, Chris. And as I was telling the X-Zone Nation, you and I were talking this weekend, and I'll tell you, some of the experiences that you have had, my friend, just blew my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Some of it's been out of this world, like the only way I could really describe it.
Yeah.
And it's all happened. A lot of that stuff's happened just recently over this summer, when I got the opportunity to go to Peru to make a series. Actually, it was supposed to be a documentary at first, but it went so well that it became a series. And that's what I'm working on at the moment. And we did get the opportunity to go into the jungle and meet with the shaman and drink the ayahuasca, as well as other things, yopo and San Pedro, different plants that they consider medicines.
Now, when you went into the jungles and you met with the shaman and you actually partook in some of the rituals, what did you learn? How, like here you are, a guy from New Brunswick, and by the way, my dad is from St. John, New Brunswick, so I love New Brunswick. That's my second home. And it's like, it's so different. What did you learn? What did you experience? What can you share with us?
In what respect? Because I guess in a way I visited two different worlds. One that I didn't know existed. But when you drink the ayahuasca or do any forms of these DMT, which is something that your pineal gland produces, and they call it the spirit molecule, because it kind of seems to be a door way, like your brain produces it when you dream and when you die and when you're born. So it seems to be like this kind of gateway, I guess, is what I came. And you're going to have to understand that I'm going to be speaking from my perspective of what I saw and what I understood.
Well, all right, let's take it this way then. Why don't you take it to the point where you met the shaman, you made the decision to visit the other world, an experience you've never had before, and how is it done? Is it Does the shaman stay with you? Does he help you cross? I've seen something on TV about ayahuasca, and you saw people getting violently ill.
Yeah, it appears that way, and I guess like in reality, you aren't like you. Some people throw up. They call it purging. It's all part of the process. But if you'll allow me, I'll back this up just a little bit to tell you what got us there. Is the premise was this actor who I came to know. He had a stroke, and he believes it was due to a pharmaceutical that he was taking, an antidepressant. And so he became very interested in alternative treatments, plant medicines, shamanism, in different ways to approach illness outside of the traditional Western medicine. And I had been involved in different plant medicine documentaries and got very interested myself in shamanism. And then just through synchronicities and things, we came together, and this was pitched, and it got funded, and we went down there. So the whole purpose behind going to Peru was healing. And what we discovered was the healing happens within you, and through this experience. Now, to answer the next question, or your question, the shaman actually does this. He exists in that world with you and is very accustomed to it, so guides you. And it's really like it's unexplainable in the sense that you can't compare it to anything.
Right.
This experience, like they say it's like dying without having to go through the dying process. So you get to visit the afterlife, I guess.
So, So how did your visit to the other world change the life of Chris Harrigan?
Well, just to know that exists, and it's hard to explain because had you talked to me 2 months ago, this would have seemed very, very abstract, this entire concept. But I mean, this is just what it taught me. I did ayahuasca, and a couple days before that, I had smoked DMT, which is the active ingredient, as I just described. And the second you just go to a place where it's just pure information, and like I said, it's hard to talk about it without sounding a little bit out there. But that's exactly you go into this place between life, I guess, that you hear about, and you gain understanding about life and about what this realm's all about, and this whole picture that we're all a part of.
So what is this realm all about, and what is the purpose of life that you discovered?
Well, what it showed me, like, I can describe it like when I smoked the DMT, and immediately, like, you inhale this 4 times, like a dose, or three to 4 times, and immediately you're thrown into something that is completely bizarre but yet familiar. And from my experience there, I was going through and being taught like this a massive amount of information. And then when I got to the end of what it was teaching me, there was a wall that it described as death. And then it said, the next time you come to this space, if you're ready, we'll let you through. And my next experience was going to be in 2 days after that with the ayahuasca, which is much more of a commitment. It can last like 5 hours or so, where DMT and you smoke it, it's about a 25-minute experience. But it's worth mentioning that within that experience, time doesn't really exist. So it could seem like 20 years, like really. My
goodness.
Yeah. So 2 nights later, we went far into the jungle, and I mean 40 minutes down the Amazon, another 40 minutes into the woods till we ran out of road, and then 40 minutes you walk to a farm that's in the middle of nowhere. where the shaman lives with his wife and his kids.
Were you ever worried about your safety? Here you are in the middle of the Amazon jungle. You're working on this documentary. You are, you're trying the effects of these plants. Did you ever say to yourself, I must be nuts?
Yeah, like the first night we left to go do all this. The more bizarre things got, the more normal they got, I guess, because we started the entire documentary series in Lima,
right?
Which is the capital of Peru, and we stayed there for a few days and kind of got the historical tours and all that kind of stuff, and did some other cool stuff like parasailing, and just kind of tried to experience.
So you got all your B-roll done, and then it was into the jungle.
Well, from there we went to the Sacred Valley and we did the whole Machu Picchu and stuff. And
right.
That was very, that kind of set the stage because you're being told a lot of history that, maybe you hadn't heard,
right.
Different versions of the history that, anybody who goes down there, it's almost like they know, usually your guide's going to know the accepted version and the real version, and you kind of get to pick which one you want to hear. Their oral tradition or what we're taught in books.
What did it feel like being in Machu Picchu with its rich Incan history?
Well, that's the kind of thing about they only assume that the Incans built it.
Really?
Because there's nothing written. Nobody knows who built that for sure.
Do you?
So it's a myth.
Many of my guests over the years that I've had this this experience every night believe that it was the extraterrestrials who actually were the gods of the Incas, and they did a lot of the building and left these buildings for the Incas. And, once again, it ties into the Nazca lines and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Well, we ran into plenty of guys that was their version. And
really?
Plenty of people, just that we spoke to, that was what they believed. That was a fact to them. So, yeah, I mean, who knows? There does seem to be a lot of hints towards, technology that, like the Nazca lines, you can only see them from a height,
yep.
And, of course, all the buildings and just the way they're earthquake-proof and da-da-da-da-da, and Machu Picchu itself, like 60% of it is underneath. You can't see it. It's the irrigation systems and stuff that they built that are really also mind-blowing. And why did they put it there? Why is it there? Why get up to the top of this? I heard some stories where they asked the locals, like, how did you guys get this up here? And they were like, well, we didn't. The mountain grew. So it's anybody's guess, I guess.
So here you are after Machu Picchu. Is it then that you went into the Amazon?
Yeah, and we went to a place called a city called Iquitos.
Right.
And what's amazing about Iquitos is you can only get there by plane,
mm-hmm.
or I guess by boat through the Amazon. There's no roads there, and it's self-sufficient. It's just another world entirely. There's no cars, or very few. And even their Spanish has become like almost its own language, and it's just a really magical little place. And you're on the Amazon basin. And from there, we met our guides, and he was actually British. And he was, I don't know if we should call him our guide, but he was our liaison. Like he knew the shaman, he set everything up for us. And also did help us with our DMT experiences and stuff, which he was able to do himself. And also there's other medicines we tried, such as Cabo, which you don't get any kind of experience other than you get very sick. It's frog venom. And
why in the name of God would you take frog venom?
That's right, because what it does is it forces your body to develop all sorts of new antibodies. And they say if you do it 3 times within a month, you're pretty much going to be disease-free for 5 or so years. But the thing is they are actually using it effectively to treat things like AIDS and different eyesight problems, diabetes, heart problems, a host of things, and it seems to be very successful. So our star had psoriasis, and that was the reason he wanted to try it to see. And almost immediately, the psoriasis began to disappear. That blew my mind, like when I saw that happening physically in front of me. But it never did completely go away for the whole trip. But
why do you think that this information and these remedies are being suppressed?
Well, that brings me to the ayahuasca. Once you go into that world and see, that's the part that's hard to explain, because for me, everybody's experience is slightly different, but or very different, to be honest. But they all seem to have these common traits. Like ayahuasca is often referred to as the mother of all plants, and I saw her, like she was this beautiful jungle, just woman, I guess, like creating out of love and animals and birds, and she just had this immense love for the entire planet and everybody in it. So when you get done being taught what the ayahuasca feels, you're ready to go. Mostly, like the big lesson is fear is really the enemy, and how they use fear to oppress us, and also how they cut us off, because all cultures really had a version somehow to get to this space, that spirit space, to understand the divine, I guess. And like when the missionaries came in and stuff, and they conquered, the first thing they would do is kill the shaman, from what I understand. And that was it was just purely meant to cut off our connection to the universe, I guess, which is our birthright to know and experience. And the DMT is non-toxic. So why is it illegal? Because it allows you to see the space. You get that right away. It took me a couple of days really you're almost in sadness coming out, or I was, because I could see it so clearly, how they oppress us using fear and just all the things I basically knew anyway, but seeing it so vividly, and so it's really a shame. Everybody has a right to see what I saw.
Exo Nation, my guest this hour is Chris Harrigan. Chris is joining us from New Brunswick, and Chris is a Canadian director and producer who went down to Peru. He's been in the Amazon jungles. He's tried many of these plants. And Chris, is it possible that the suppression of this information is because there are a lot of major corporations who would lose a lot of money?
Well, I can answer that with this. When I was down there was actually one of the people I did ayahuasca with was a doctor of pharmacology from France.
Right.
And he was doing it for this was his second time, and he had done it the year before because he had actually lost some faith in his industry due to the death of his father, and he felt it was because of the medications he was taking and that they weren't applied properly, or I don't know. So it completely changed him. He came back, and his family barely recognized him. They were worried for him because he was so laid back at this point. And so he was going out. This was his second time. And we became friends because I speak French, being from New Brunswick.
Sure.
This is a bilingual province. And so I was able to communicate with this guy pretty good. And he explained to me that there's a movement going on within the scientific and medical community to go back towards the plant medicine, because that's basically where our medicines come from.
Sure.
And then they synthesize them at that point, and then it comes with all sorts of terrible side effects. Well, nature seems to have it right many times in the first place. There's no question that it's suppressed because of corporations and stuff, and governments and
the healthcare industry itself. Yeah.
Because they wouldn't be able to run the world the way they do if everybody saw it for what it was. You know what I mean? They wouldn't be able to destroy the world as as they're doing, if everybody understood their deep connection to the earth and to each other, they wouldn't be able to run their banking schemes and all the things we've come to learn that are true. Because the illusion would be shattered.
All right, listen, Chris, I've got to take a few-minute break here for the news at the bottom of the hour. Thanks for joining us. Great talking to you again. Exonation, Chris Harrigan is my special guest this hour, and we're talking about Chris's adventure into the Amazon jungle, trying different herbs and remedies as prescribed by a shaman. When we come back, we're going to find out how Chris can relate to us what the other side or the other world is like. 1-800-610-7035 worldwide toll-free is my number. X-Zone at XZoneRadioTV.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our radio website where you can listen to the X-Zone 724-365, www.XZoneRadioTV.com. I am Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone. Chris Harrigan and I return on the other side of the short break. Don't go away.
Listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
Ever wondered if your advertising dollar is really working for you? If your ad would have been here, you and more than 4 million people would be listening to it right now. Contact ads at XZoneRadioTV.com. How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
I'm William S. Peckham. If you enjoy a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love my novel, From Out of the Woodwork. It's the story of a young Toronto contractor, Sean Kennedy, who buys derelict homes, guts them, and turns them into multi-family dwellings. Slums just waiting to happen. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, the house fights back. Former owners unexpectedly come out of the woodwork as he starts the destruction. The apparitions come to him when he touches old books, reads hidden letters, rummages through old boxes, finds a locket, or reads a discovered manuscript of a murder mystery. From Out of the Woodwork will take you from 1899 to the horror of the World Trade Center, September 11, 2001. Check out From Out of the Woodwork on my website, www.williamspeckham.com.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Wilda Wiecka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we will weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Wilda Wiecka, and the Science of Magic right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. My guest this hour is Canadian TV director and producer Chris Harrigan. He's joining us from his home in New Brunswick. If you'd like to give us a call, 1-800-610-7035, worldwide, toll-free. If you would like to send an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. And you can listen to the X Zone 724-365 at www.xzoneradiotv.com. Chris, thanks very much for joining us tonight, my friend. It's an hour later where you are, so you're looking at what, 10:36 your time? Oops, I see what I did, Craig. Just give me a second here. Oh, there he is. Welcome back, Chris.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, my friend. I'm fine. Listen. Okay, so we've come to the point where I guess you've had your warm up, your preamble to your main experience. How do you say it? Ayahuasca. How did you prepare yourself before ingesting the plant?
Well, 2 nights before that, we had filmed the entire ceremony with our main subject in this series. Watching what he went through, like you could feel it all through the room. Like there was something really strangely familiar, although it was very kind of bizarre at the same time to watch this man go through what he went through.
Right.
And then he was, of course, the next day I interviewed him, and he talked about how, like, a lot of the time he was laying down, but in his mind, he was up and dancing because the shaman will sing a Nicaros, it's called, and it guides you along when you're in this world. And like I said, he also does it. So but they can exist in both places. Like he's walking around the room like nothing happened, but yet he's in that world with him. Understand? And that was common with all the shaman that we met. Like they drink it right along with you.
Really?
But then, yeah, once you get accustomed to those worlds, you can manipulate where you want to be, and it just becomes like something different that I can't explain because I don't know. I only know what I went through.
Sure.
So as far as getting prepared, there was that, just observing that. And then the next day when we went back to our liaison, we'll call him, his place, that's when I did the DMT. So then I really got the experience where he went. And it was really like, wow, like nothing could have ever prepared me for that. So then when we went into the jungle, I somewhat knew what to expect. But already it was hard to hang on to the memory because my mind really had no words to describe it. So it was starting to kind of fade like a dream would. And it was kind of upsetting me a little bit that was happening. But as soon as I was the last one to do the ayahuasca, because we were 8 in the hut, I think, and you could just feel the energy kind of moving within the hut. And when it took a hold of me, it was just like, I can describe my experience if you'd like me to.
Sure, I'd love to share it.
I went in with no real prior concepts. I mean, I was raised Catholic, and I'm aware of all the different religious beliefs, or a lot of them, Buddhism, and just the different concepts, reincarnation, resurrection, da 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 da. So when I drank this stuff, and when it started taking effect, well, first of all, I threw up hard, but just like once, like just boom, that was it. And then it was just like the jungle just went right through me and just dragged me to the ground. And I already accepted that I was going to accept it. I wasn't going to fight this in any which way. And suddenly that world opened up, and it just felt as fresh as the coldest, freshest stream of water is the only way. Like the feeling that you got when that opened up and you're seeing this other place again. For me, this is always from my perspective. I was suddenly brought back to that wall that I had described earlier in the DMT, where it was death. And then it gave me the option. It said, we'll bring you through here. We'll show you what's on the other side of death if you want, but you have to accept to leave yourself here completely, your breath, all of it, essentially die. And I was a little
apprehensive.
You're trying to make up your mind. I have a son, like,
right.
What if I don't come back? And it was flat out telling me that's irrelevant. Like what you're going to be experiencing here, it goes beyond life and death. Like there's something bigger here for you. Do you want to know? But there was something very friendly about it, and I trusted it. And so I did, and I felt my breath get left behind. I just went in, and it was like I was just a spirit there. Like I didn't have a body. I was just aware. And in the second I got into this, I'm going to call it like a kingdom. And it was beautiful. I got there on a boat to a little port, is my memory, and then it brought me in. And immediately the Icaros that the shaman's wife was speaking in Spanish, and she didn't understand a word of English. Believe me, I spent days there and just trying to explain anything to somebody who doesn't know how to speak your language.
It's kind of hard.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Yes. So we had to find those different ways, like hand motions and gestures. But that all turned into English, perfect English. And it's just there's so many things that you see in that world that is just completely astonishing. But what it was showing me was letting me understand what happens between life. And this was a place where souls dwelled between their births. And there was a lot that it explained to me in this world. A lot of the souls weren't happy, like a lot of them were stuck and dwelling, and others were caught in repetitions. Like I remember this one scene where this boat was being built, and really kind of like surreal, almost like stop motion. And when they get done, it would reset, and then they'd build it again. And then it showed me, yeah. But then at one point, I could feel this top of my arm very, 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 very fast. And what I was seeing in this world at the same time was this boat that was blocking one of the roads. It's kind of like Venice, only it was a bit different, but I mean, like the same kind of concept. There was like boats in the road,
right? And
it was sucked sideways, and without any prejudice, anything. It just started tapping around the boat to let it but at the same time, it was happening to my arm. You see what I mean? It was showing me how it was removing a blockage, and it was showing me that world somehow was within me also. And it showed, so they brought me around, and one very sad thing for me was, like, my father passed away when I was 15, and I asked if I could see him. And they said, you can, but you may not want to. So I had to accept that and keep going on. And I remember that being very emotional at the time.
So did you get to see your dad?
No, I didn't.
No way.
I chose not to. No. It showed me this place that that people would call heaven, but this place was for very evolved souls. Again, this is all my personal experience, right?
Right.
So I mean, this is just what I saw. I'm just, this is what I saw.
Did you feel anything while you were there, Chris? Did you smell anything? Were you in your body, or were you just the essence of your spirit?
I'll tell you this. Like I said, I didn't have a body, but when it was showing me this place that was like, that we would call heaven, this paradise,
right,
where souls can hang out, very evolved souls. Your heart has to have gone through a transformation just to pure love, is what I got. I couldn't exist there. It could only show me it. But now that you mentioned that, the second it told me that, I really could feel that there was a grayness around my heart. That I wasn't ready for that. That I needed to work on this when I, in my life.
Right.
That there are things obviously I have to personally let go of or evolve through or different things. That was the only real sensation that I can remember, like physical, is having that realization, but also feeling that at the same time. But then it went on to show me like this, the great creator, we'll call it, and this immense love that it had for all of its creations and us, and that we're all its children, and like just a lot of things that, like, I don't know, like it showed me that just the perfection of how everything worked, and that there was really, this realm is almost limitless when it comes, there's no rules. Somehow, like it just, the fact that it has no rules is the rule. But there was only one thing that made it all work, and that was when you can't come back in reverse. Like you can't be resurrected. When you die, you can only be born again. And that was, all these things again were like, I didn't have any particular belief going into this, and I still don't. To me, it wasn't even a form of believing anything. It was just showing me how things are, and that this world here was the world that you can evolve the quickest in, the physical one, this 3D world that we live in here, and not so much in the spirit realm. And this was all astonishing. It's, you know what I mean? Who's ready to hear or see any of all this? Who's ready to see this big jungle woman who's creating life through love and you know what I mean?
Let me ask you something about this jungle woman. Is it possible that she was the very essence of Mother Nature?
She is. That's what ayahuasca is. She's the mother of all plants. And how did they know? How did these shamans know to do this? I mean, there's like 130-some thousand kinds of plants. Here they find this one root, because DMT dissolves. It's in just about everything, but it dissolves when it hits your stomach acids and stuff, right? So somehow they figured out how to take this vine and then brew it together with this other leaf, and that protects that and allows you to enter this space for hours and hours and hours. And until recently, it was only the shaman who would enter that world. You didn't. Then they would work on you while they were in that space. But over the past century or so, more and more, they've accepted that. It seems like ayahuasca wants to reconnect with humanity because of the exact reasons I told you earlier. Because if we all knew what our connection, we wouldn't allow the destruction of our planet the way it's going. We wouldn't allow many, many, many things that are going on, and a lot of them seem to be, to be coming to pass too. Like, the people are waking up, and the world has to change, and it seems that she feels that the time is right for the world to reconnect with their birthright, which is understanding this divine place that's been usurped by churches and governments and people who seek to control us. You know.
How long did it take you from start to finish of this one trip?
I wouldn't call it a trip. That'd be the wrong. It's
Experience.
Because it's just experience. That's the best way. Because it's not like an acid trip or a mushroom trip. It's
no, I wasn't referring to that kind of trip. I was referring to, you left this world, you went to the other world and came back.
Yeah. No, I just felt that I just wanted to make that clear because it's just different. Yeah. They say comparing ayahuasca to any other kind of hallucinogenic is like it's like comparing running outside with your arms stretched out to flying. You know what I mean? Like it's just not even comparable. It was, I think for me, it was 4 or 5 hours. And then when I thought I was done, I sat up and this big tarantula flew right up on my shoulder, but it wasn't, this was a whole other part of my experience because I freaked out there, but it wasn't really there. It was a spirit. And right away, the shaman came over and he knew what it was, and he put his hand there to replace it, and he started rubbing my back, kind of like just with 2 fingers, and it calmed me down. And then he said, okay, and he was calling it the arenga, and he was showing me it can't bite you. I'm going to take this out of you now. This is something that needs to come out of you, and you're going to let me do that. So this went on for an hour. I would guess because my instructions were you go back into that world. And when I got back in that world, they were like, okay, you're back, but we got nothing more to show you. I mean, the party's over.
Right.
Tag around if you want. But there's no more information that we're going to give you this time. But it did tell me what it was going to show me the next 2 times I went in. But anyway, I'm watching this, and I'm able to come back between the worlds now. So I would come back, and I'd watch the shaman. He's doing this thing with tobacco and whatnot. And I'd go back and I'd see him in that world and where this immense spider was, and he wasn't fighting it so much as he was telling it, like coaxing it to leave, because it had something to do with my heredity.
Mm-hmm.
Like my grandfather, he was struck by lightning and died that night of a heart attack, and then my father, who worked at a nuclear power plant, he also died at young age 45 of a heart attack. And it seemed that this thing had been going through generations, and it was stuck in me, and it was feeding on my heart. And it told me like a lot of things are being said to you, but not being said. Like you just understand. And it was telling me like this is a proper exorcism. There, this is something that's in you that's parasitical and it needs to go. And so this went on and on until finally he got it out. And it kept sneaking back into me, and so for like an hour, he was chewing this spider. Yeah, it was quite that was the freakiest thing I ever experienced. This thing just crawling up onto my shoulder, but it was those 2 worlds were just the frequency between them were a little blurred. You know what I mean? So that was just the spirit of whatever this thing. And that's it. It was feeding on my heart, and it was parasitical. It was in love with my heart, and that's why the shaman had to explain to it that I had to leave because it was hurting me. And then once that happened, I was told for a little while when you go out, because there's no running water or toilets or anything, so you're doing your business in the woods, or now if you do ayahuasca, that's coming. So like for a little while there, like the spiders were angry. Told me like watch out, like don't go out right now. It probably won't hurt you, but they may. And then there was a point where it was like, okay, spiders have accepted that if they did do something, the shaman would banish them from their realm, and they don't want that. So from his realm, and so I know it all sounds completely bizarre to anybody listening, but this is what I experienced and other people had different experiences, but there was a lot of commonalities between them. People had experiences in that, like 2 people didn't leave the room, but they saw the same things, like this little girl walking around, a pentagram that opened up, and these 2 snakes came out like bearing knowledge, and he kind of freaked one of them out. But he said afterwards he realized that the pentagram wasn't evil, and that he should have accepted because they were going to give him knowledge, and he did it another time to kind of go see if he could get that knowledge afterwards. So I don't know. It's yeah. I
was going to say, how long did it take before the ayahuasca was totally out of your system?
By morning there. By morning, like we did it at 10.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was. So 10 o'clock, figure it was done like around 2:30, and then we all slept. Like we sat up for a bit and chatted. And thing is, like when you come out of it, that you're so light sensitive. Like all you can have is candles, and even that. So you come out of it, you're pretty much okay there. About an hour later. Yeah.
So when
DMT, when you do that, you come out, and 5 minutes later, you're just like nothing happened. Mm-hmm.
So when's the next time you go down to? Let's say you've got 2 more trips you're allowed to do with the ayahuasca.
Well, that's what it told me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it told me. But see, the idea behind this series is, if it gets picked up and we can continue on, is we're going to go do this with shaman around the world, explore all sorts of different medicines. But that was definitely the big one on our list because we knew about it and
mm-hmm.
we were very interested in it. And let me tell you, it did not disappoint. Like it was, but some people do it. Like our cameraman, he did 2 great big full cups. He did like twice as much as we did, and he didn't leave the room.
Wow.
It was different for him, but he did something called Yopo a few days later, which is another version of DMT that they blow up your nose, and it's a different spirit that comes along with it. It's more like a grandfather, male kind of spirit. And let me tell you, that is some of the craziest stuff I have ever seen.
Really?
But again, like the footage we took there, like it's just like, wow. Because it's messy. Like you have to see it. Like you have to wait for the movie. And I can't really mention what the movie's called just yet. So maybe we might want to do a follow-up.
Hey, of course we will. Of course we will. Hey, listen, Chris, it's been great talking to you. We've got to say so long for now, my friend. But thanks very much for joining us and sharing this wonderful experience that you've had. And we look forward to the next time you visit us back here in the X Zone.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
You take care, my man. Speak to you soon, Chris.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. X Zone Nation, Chris Harrigan was my guest this hour. We were talking about his experiences in the Amazon jungle with ayahuasca. It's interesting. It is so interesting. There's always so much to learn, so much we really don't know. And when you hear what the experience Chris had and others have had, and the cures that are being experienced, witnessed by many others, you just have to wonder, what is the real truth behind it? We know that all medicines originally came from plants. This is knowledge. So why have we left Mother Nature out in the cold for so long? Seems that it's going to be time pretty soon when Mother Nature is going to be welcomed once again. But I think we've got a lot to make up to Mother Nature. The climate, the environment. We need to get our acts together. That's what we need to do. Got to take a short break. When I come back, more of the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell from our beautiful broadcast center and offices in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. 1-800-610-7035 is worldwide toll-free. 800-610-7035 is the toll-free number. If you'd like to send us an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV, and our main radio website where you can listen to the X Zone 724-365, www.xzoneradiotv.com. The X Zone is truly a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's also a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. So keeping that in mind, we continue here in the X Zone on the other side of this break. Don't go away.